Storm Eowyn caused havoc across the UK on Friday, but no more so than for one family whose roof blew off and they found a dwarf lover living upstairs.
Hello and welcome to our latest Square Raindrop podcast. I'm Jo Wheeler.
And I'm Steph Galter.
And Steffi, what a weekend it was. How busy was that?
When the weather's busy, we're busy. And this weekend was crazy busy for the weather. Not only did we have Eowyn on the Friday, but on the Sunday, things started to go crazy again, didn't they, Jo?
They did, with Storm Hermina. Now, it has to be said, we didn't name this one. That was the Spanish that named that one. And you know, the state started naming storms back in the 1950s, and we kind of took it up a few years ago. And the idea is that alphabetically, we go male, female, male, female. But because we're quite a small landmass compared to anywhere else, we also get affected by other people's storms. The French storms, the Spanish storms, the Portuguese storms. So we get this mishmash of names. And sometimes they're not even that impactful anyway, because Hermina kind of passed by without a shrug.
It's Armenia. Oh, Jo. Spanish, so there's an H at the beginning, don't pronounce that one. But everything else you pronounce quite literally. There's no discrepancy. So when we look at, say, Eowyn, we all went, how on earth do you pronounce that? Then I just showed Felipe, my Spanish-speaking other half, what's this word? And he went, well, it's that. Because there's no, oh, it could be this or it could be that. No, if it's an I, it's a I. And so, Armenia.
Well, let's go back to Eowyn for a minute. For a start, as English speakers, the emphasis would usually be on the second syllable. So that would be Eowyn, right? But it wasn't that. It was Eowyn, or at least that's what we were told. Now, apparently this comes from the Old English and is derived from the words eo, meaning horse, and wyn, meaning delight. It translates to horse of joy or delight in horses. But we were also told it was a Welsh name.
Yes, somebody told me it was a Welsh name. I don't know if that's true. It was a name I'd never heard of, but you had.
Well, no, I Googled it, actually. It's supposed to have come from the Lord of the Rings, and if it is, that's the second storm named after a character in that book, which I'm ashamed to say I've never read. The other one was Arwen in 2022.
No, I've never seen or read Lord of the Rings either. But I have to say, I read Harry Potter when it first came out years ago, and Hermione was never Hermione when I read it. So even if I'd have read Eowyn, I probably wouldn't have pronounced it like that.
Now then, Eowyn, or whatever you want to call him, did cause a few problems. We had very rare red warnings over Ireland, also part of the northwest of England, and indeed western parts of Scotland. And certainly on this occasion, those red warnings were warranted, weren't they?
They were. We did have one gust of wind as high as 114 miles an hour. That was on the west coast of Ireland. And I believe that's the highest gust we've seen in Ireland. So incredibly strong. And then those very strong winds transferred to Northern Ireland and over sort of central and southern Scotland. The actual low pressure was to the north. The squeeze of the isobars giving the really strong winds was just to the south of that. So yes, incredibly strong winds.
Now, of course, as we were following this, we saw this gust of 114.9 that beat the last record in 1945 of 113. That was set in Limerick. But then all the equipment broke. So we don't actually know if there were stronger gusts. Somebody tried very bravely to take a handheld appliance outside and measure the gusts. He wasn't having much success.
No, and it wouldn't have been official. So, you know, he might have been swept away to Norway for no real reason. So don't try that at home. But although several of the weather stations went offline in the west of Ireland, all may not be lost, Jo, because it could be that it was just the communication that failed. So, you know, they're still gathering the information. They just couldn't transmit it, in which case, fairly soon, we should hear whether or not there was a stronger gust. But, of course, if the anemometer just flew off and broke, then we'll never know.
I spoke to a friend of mine in Belfast on Thursday night, and I said to her, there are some very strong winds coming. What I'd like you to do is go and charge your phone, make sure that's charged, and also the advice is to put some water in the bath. I'm not entirely sure why, because it wouldn't be warm enough to get into. And if your electricity's off, you don't have a kettle to boil it. And I wouldn't really fancy dipping a drinking glass in the bath and drinking that. I'm sure I could find something else. Anyway, she laughed at me only briefly. The following night, by the time I got hold of her, yeah, the electricity had been off all day. She got no signal on a mobile phone, nothing. So it had been quite a daunting day. And I think there were about 750,000 homes in the Republic of Ireland without power and around 93,000 in Northern Ireland. So it was pretty dramatic. And now we've got this lovely graphic which shows us all sorts of things that you're about to explain.
Well, first of all, I need to ask you, did she ever find out, your friend? Did she ever find out why she was supposed to put water in the bath?
No, neither of us did. In fact, I never even questioned it when I told her to do it. What did you think? Well, why do you need water in the bath if you can't boil it?
I
Because
don't know.
you know,
My friend said the weather's really wild outside. She was in Port Talbot, so I'm going to go and have a warm bath. But that was nothing to do with your advice, so I'm very confused. Anyway, this graphic, let's go back to the serious stuff. So, yes, this graphic looks a bit complicated, all a bit crazy, but essentially, where it says 100, that means they had the strongest gusts that they've ever reported at that one particular station. So you can see that swathe of hundreds. They're helpfully a different colour. And you can see where the strongest gusts that they've ever had are. And then to the north and south of that, you can see like 97. So that's 97% of what they've seen strongest so far. So you can see it dropping off as you go down to the south coast. But that swathe across the middle, that shows just how exceptional this storm was in that so many people saw the strongest ever gust for their one weather station they're at.
it was certainly quite dramatic. For northwestern parts of the country, the south is saying it was just another winter storm. What are you talking about? Well, we said the same thing in 1987, but they didn't feel like that then.
Yeah, that's the southeast. Yeah, absolutely. So I was driving into Skye early doors on the Friday. It was a little bit aquaplaney, a little bit gusty on the road, but on the way back, absolutely fine. You know, and not many people, you'll be pleased to know, were on the roads at 4 o'clock in the morning. So it wasn't so bad. But on the way back, when obviously there's more traffic around, the conditions were way better.
Well, of course, sadly, one person lost their life in this storm. But frankly, had we not had the red stay at home warnings, I think there would have been many more because many roads were blocked. Trees came down. There was massive disruption. One high sided vehicle on the
More
A1
than
in
one,
Scotland got
Joe.
tipped over.
There were several trucks that went over. I've seen quite a few, video footage on various social medias. It's terrifying because you can see the trucks going before they go, and the driver's thinking there is nothing I can do. There's nowhere for them to go at that point. There's nothing they can do. I think it was mostly maybe the empty trucks, which are just easier to blow over. My gosh, it must have been terrifying though.
I think travelling anywhere that day was. And thankfully it's over. And Storm Emania, is that right?
Armenia, close enough.
Armenia, Storm Armenia, yeah, has also passed through without too much incident. But it seems the newspapers just aren't ready to let it go.
No. So today I was in the newsagents and I just happened to look over at the newspapers, and the Daily Sport said that there were four more storms to come this week, which I thought was a little bit rich given that the weather calms down on Wednesday.
Well, when you mentioned this, I was thinking, hang on a second, let me look at some charts. What have I missed? I was cruising happily into this week thinking, okay, a bit blustery the first couple of days, showers, longer spells of rain, but nothing major. And you're going four storms. I'm going, where are they? Where are they?
So I think maybe they were counting Armenia twice because it's with us on Monday and Tuesday. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is really slow moving over us. But then it kind of moves on Wednesday. We've got some rain in the south. I think they're calling that another storm. And then on Friday, we might see some rain in the north. I think they're calling that another storm. And then I think they even went as far as Sunday, or it could have been Saturday where there might be some more rain. And that was a storm too. I think it's just gone a little bit stormtastic.
It certainly has. Now, of course, I'm the one that likes a long range forecast. I'm the one that likes to gaze into the weather crystal ball, particularly on a weekend. And on Saturday, we were still looking at this high pressure to start February that was going to last for a few days. By yesterday, it had all changed. And I've checked this morning again, it's all changed. Not that high pressure that we were looking at all.
Well, and this is why I don't really like those long range crystal ball forecasts that you like, because until I see the whites of their eyes, I don't want to know.
On the other hand, we have got the weather story of the week, and it goes back to Aowen or Aowen.
Weather story of the week, Joe, I don't like crystal ball gazing, but this has to be the weather story of the year, and we're only in January.
So this is in the Sunday Sport. Yes. Do you want to give us the
Oh, it's in the
headline as well?
sun. It's in the sun,
Oh, it's
Joe.
in the Sun as well. Oh, sorry, I've got the headline in the Sport. So give us a bit of a rundown on this.
So, Eowyn hits. Oh no, lots of strong winds. Suddenly, this man hears this really loud noise and he goes outside, sees all these tiles down, great big hole in his roof. Thinks, oh, I better sort that out. So he gets out his drone, lucky enough to have a drone. And when there's a bit of a lull in the wind, sends it up. And there's a little man in there waving at him, shouting, help, help. So he runs inside, brings down the step ladder, and this little dwarf comes down from the loft wearing a leather onesie. It turns out his wife has set up this whole like sex, I was going to say basement, but it's not. It's in the loft. And she's had this man up there for 2 years, Joe. 2 years this guy's been in their loft. And they've got cages up there and S&M gear and all this stuff. And he never had any idea.
That that is just extraordinary. I mean, who would have thought that she'd stoop so low?
But, ha, very good. I like what you did there. But my question is, was there a bathroom up there? What happened when he needed the loo? Did he ever have a
I,
shower? There are just more questions than answers.
I was simply wondering whether at this stage he needs to jack it in, but maybe that's just a little below the belt.
Mm.
This is beyond the pale. And like you say, bathroom facilities, one step too far. Absolutely one step too far. But it's only a little step.
Ha ha ha. You and your terrible jokes, Joe.
Can't be helped, and you started it by drawing my attention to this.
It's
What an
just the
absolutely
story of the
brilliant
year.
story. I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, at this point, shall we just invite any requests for a personalised forecast, whether or not you're a small dwarf living in somebody's attic space with daily entertainment from those who live below?
Joe, I just have to tell you, the lady of the household, what her last sentence was from the article, because it's just brilliant.
Go on, hit me with it.
So, apparently, I think her name was Carol. She said, Luke's not been interested since 2005. What am I supposed to do? Because that's what we all do. When your husband goes off on a little wobble, you get your attic converted and find a dwarf.
That is absolutely brilliant. And what odds do we give on their marriage surviving?
He said, the insurance will fix my roof, but I don't think anything can fix my marriage.
I think possibly he's got a point. And maybe he should be grateful to Eowyn for exposing the problem. Sorry about that. Now, personalised forecast. As we said, if you would like a personalised forecast, do get in contact with us. Whether or not you're living in a roof where you probably haven't got much else to do, so you might as well ask for a forecast as anything else. Will I lose the cover in the next 2 weeks or so? Yeah, always handy information to have. Meanwhile, hopefully a spell of quieter weather for a while, although somehow I don't think so.